Most people fear the end of the world. Dokja Kim didn't. Because he already lived through it. Not once, but thousands of times. Not in reality, but in the only place that ever treated him like he existed. A cheap, serialized webcomic that he read every day on the train. He wasn't the chosen hero. He was just an extra. A background character destined to watch the story from the sidelines. But the thing about extras is, when you've never been in the spotlight, you learn how to survive in the shadows. The series was written by two authors working together under the same name, Sing Shong, a duo known for their consistency, creativity, and world building. Their work lives on through the universe they crafted, a world where an unnoticed reader can reshape destiny. And if there's anyone who symbolizes that idea completely, it's Dokja Kim. Because to understand how an ordinary office worker became the most dangerous extra in Webtoon, we need to look back at the life he lived before the world ended. The mindset that shaped him. The loneliness that defined him. The psychology that prepared him for a reality no one else could survive. Dokja lived life accompanied by a silence that seemed to follow him everywhere. Not oppressive, just always present, filling the spaces where connection should have been. He moved through life invisible, the same way fog drifts across the city. Present, but unacknowledged. His coworkers forgot his name. People talked past him. The world wasn't cruel to Dokja. It was indifferent. But sometimes, indifference cuts deeper than hate. His only escape was a novel called 3 Ways to Survive the Apocalypse. For 10 years, he read it faithfully. At work, on the train, during lunch. It became his entire emotional ecosystem. A story he didn't just consume, but lived with and grew alongside. And that's why, when the apocalypse finally arrived, he didn't scream. He didn't collapse. He didn't question anything. Because that's the first time in his life he knew exactly what to do. Knowledge was a superpower. Not strength. Not speed. Not even luck. Just the truth. He knew which monsters would spawn, which people would betray each other, which choices would lead to survival, because he had seen them play out 100 times in the novel. If the world is a giant chessboard, Dokja was the only person who could see 10 moves ahead. That's what made him terrifying. A hero reacts, a villain schemes, but Dokja predicts. And predictions are a more dangerous weapon than any sword. But knowledge isn't free, and Dokja carried it like a scar. He knew who would die. He knew which futures would collapse. He knew exactly how fragile his place in the story really was. Because unlike Jung-hyuk, Dokja wasn't meant to be there. He wasn't a protagonist blessed by the narrative. He wasn't a chosen anything. He was a reader who slipped into a world that never planned for him. And the deeper he got into the apocalypse, the more he understood a truth far more terrifying than death. If Jung-hyuk regressed, if the timeline reset, Dokja might simply disappear. Not forgotten, not ignored, completely erased. He wasn't afraid of losing extra credit or recognition. He was afraid of losing existence itself, of turning back into an extra the story never acknowledged in the first place. That fear didn't make him selfish, however. It made him deliberate, measured, willing to suffer quietly so the narrative could continue, and so he could remain inside it just a little longer. Here's where Dokja becomes different. Most people trapped inside a story try to escape it. Dokja did not. He rewrote it. He turned a linear narrative into a living, breathing future full of possibilities. He broke the ceiling placed over him by fate, by the author, by the world that never saw him. He became the quiet force that held reality together. The man who had no powers, no title, no destiny, yet influenced every outcome. That's why the constellations feared him. That's why the protagonists relied on him. And that's why the apocalypse itself seemed to lean towards him. Because sometimes the most powerful, most dangerous person isn't the chosen one. It's the person who understands the story better than the story understands itself. Dokja Kim never wanted to be a hero. He never wanted glory. He just wanted a place in the narrative. In a world ruled by chaos that made him the most dangerous person alive. Not because of strength, but because he knew the story. And for once in his life, the story knew him back. And if you want to explore more stories like this, worlds built on hidden rules, and characters who reshape destiny from the shadows, then consider subscribing.